So here's what it looks like in the editor in 2D, and this is all tile map stuff. So it's fairly easy to lay out. I'm just using this tile palette, and I'm actually mostly using one tile that's a rule tile that handles basically all the rules that I want to take care of. So this is essentially a single tile that does everything that I want it to. And then from there, do stuff like that. Okay, and then from there, I actually have another special set of tiles that handles the rain. So this is the animated rain. So for anything that I want to have rain on, I change from the ground layer to a rain layer and add rain. And then this tile these two have an offset. So this one offsets down, this one offsets up. So this tile does the splashes on the top, and this one does the raindrops on the bottom. And I was thinking about doing particles, but you know, there's a lot of particles to render, and I'm already doing particles for the rain itself. So this just gave me an easy way to control where the rain falls, so I can stop it from falling down below and then have it fall up above. And I think it just kind of makes a nice and simple effect. I can animate it how I want to. So yeah, I kind of like that. So, but if I go back to the ground layer and I bring in some other stuff from the scene. So here's the 2D drawing scene, but if I bring in my other layers, so I have a background layer here that has the city, and then I also have a foreground layer that kind of comes in front and just provides some depth to the scene. So these foreground layers and the background layers are actual simple geometry, and then the textures on them are like simple pixel art textures. So that's why I'm kind of blending the 2D with very simple 3D assets, so that the whole thing's a 2D feel, and the whole thing's primarily 2D, and all the textures are 8-bit. But I do use some, if I pull out of this camera, I do use some simple shapes here, and I'm actually in the background. There's also 2D, so I have 2D and 3D objects coming in here in layers, and then all those layers together, if I stack them all together, create the depth and the parallax as we're moving along. So that's kind of how I get all the depth in the level. And then I have a shader on here. If I play the scene, you'll see it, but if I have a shader on here that is kind of like rain ripples running down, and this is just a shader that I made in Amplify, and it has, you can see that it has rain running down, and then also this shader also handles rain on top, so it does rain on top of an object and rain running down the side. So if I rotate an object or you know, modify it, it will still act that way. So it'll always be raining on the top and then running down the side. So I can throw any objects in here, but if I just throw basic objects, then it kind of creates a nice effect, because I don't want it to really get in the way of the scene. I just need it to kind of create some context for the depth of the scene as you're running by. Yeah, so that's how that works. And then I have fog here in the scene. There's fog going into the distance, but then I also have vertical fog in the actual shader on these buildings, and that's set to a world location. So I can kind of just drop any building down into the fog here, and then when you see that in game, like it's you know, when I add the lighting and stuff, you can see that it actually sort of fades off into light because there's bloom and stuff down here. So that's how I'm handling kind of the city kind of going back into the glowing darkness. And then the sky, which you don't always see because you're in a big city, but the sky is actually one texture. It's just one texture, but I'm using a flow map. I made a special shader for that too. It's a flow map, so it basically takes a single texture, and then it takes a flow map, and it flows the texture around that map. So you can see this sky is just really just like half of a sphere, and then squashed around, and then you can see that it's sort of just flowing around. But I wanted something that was a little bit more like had some motion in it, so you don't see it all the time, but when you do catch the sky through the buildings, you know, it's moving around and it looks very active, because I wanted the whole scene to feel kind of alive, and I wanted the city to feel alive. So anyway, that's a quick look into how these scenes are set up. I'll try to dig into more later. Running out of time here to show you guys more dev stuff. So that's it for now.